Sure. What should I say? I should start by saying the Brautigan. Today recommended trout fishing in America as one of its best novels about the American West. So, go get it, etc., etc. My relationship with Brautigan is not quite different. I think that's the wrong word, but now I'll start by explaining it. It was my first creative writing teacher at City Lit many years ago who read some half-baked assignment that I turned in, and she read it, I think with a withering look, and then said, "You should read Revenge of the Lawn by Richard Brautigan." And that was her only comment on what I'd handed in. So I went off and dutifully did that and had my mind blown. And then I didn't really do anything with it for lots of years. Until last year. And most of what I say tonight is going to be reading stuff, so apologies for that. And specifically the date was March the 18th last year. And I was over at the New York Times site, and their City Room blog, blogging from the 5 boroughs is its claim. And the headline said, "A snowy March the 18th, shrouded in poetic mystery." This piece by Andy Newman. And Andy Newman goes, "Richard Brautigan, the poet and novelist who died in 1984, loved dates, sometimes incorporating them into poems with titles like September the 3rd, brackets, the Dr. William Carlos Williams mistake, close brackets. And yeah, there was always going to be a June the 5th, 1968. My printout here features the words, Ianthe Brautigan Svensson, Richard Brautigan also liked refrigerators. That what you will. The article continues, his collection, Loading Mercury with a Pitchfork, published in 1976, includes a poem that appears to commemorate an event that took place in New York on this date, 30-something or 40-something years ago. It snowed. The poem is called March the 18th, resting in the Maytag homage. Here it is in its entirety. Looking out a hotel window, it's snowing in New York, with great huge snowflakes like millions of transparent washing machines swirling through the dirty air of this city, washing it. And now here is the crux paragraph. Working on the assumption that the poem is essentially a work of non-fiction, City Room tried to sleuth out when it might have been written. We shall revisit that concept. The keeper of the Brautigan Bibliography and Archive, John Barber, said that Mr. Brautigan first visited New York City in March 1969 and again in 1970. A call was placed to the National Weather Service. This journalist has gone to the National Weather Service. It did not snow in New York City on March the 18th, 1969, reported the National Weather Service. But on March the 18th, 1970, there was a trace of snow in Central Park. 3 years later, it snowed measurably, 0.2 inches. Squalls drive light snow flurries through city, read the headline in the New York Times the next day. And we have a facsimile of that story right there. And the first 2 paragraphs I think are just worth reading because there is actually some poetry in here. Intermittent snow flurries driven by squalling winds swirled over the metropolitan area through the day yesterday, at times creating the illusion of a big snowstorm. A real snowstorm, with accumulations of up to 6 inches, hit western New York State. But the snow here appeared to be only the last bluster of winter, for most of it melted as it touched the ground. Oh, who knew the New York Times could be that poetic? You continue. There were no other snowy March 18ths through 1976, the Weather Service said. Mr. Brautigan's daughter, Ianthe Brautigan Svensson, said that it was possible Mr. Brautigan was here for the 1973 storm. Perhaps he was visiting his agent, Helen Brown, who was based in NYC, she wrote in an email. It's fun to think about. Fortunately, perhaps for the poet, the mystery abides. Now, God love the old grey lady, but why? Why? At what point did Ned to say, yeah, a poem is essentially a work of non-fiction, so let's go and try and find out whether it's true and whether it's happened. And the poet in me thought, one, Brautigan would have just been amazed and delighted by the idea of someone trying to chase down the truth of this poem happening. And the poet in me more generally just was struck by almost this desire for literalism, which goes against his work as a poet, and I think a lot of what the poets who I like do. As you may or may not expect, it obviously caused a reaction in me, and I wrote a poem in response to this piece and investigation, and you will hear that it is also an homage to Brautigan, and it is called 22nd of March, Working in an Office on Berners Street. It is 4 days and half an average lifetime after a simile happened to Richard Brautigan, elsewhere, half an ocean away. Nothing has happened to me, except that the sun has come out for the first time in my life. The way the light comes on when you open a fridge, and 2 slices of last night's pizza are waiting to be breakfasted upon. In 38 years' time, the Met Office and the News app won't be able to tell you what happened, but trust me, it's as true as the expression on your face right now. Alas, I have no smooth segue into what I'm going to read next, but I've been tossing around an idea for a longish poem for a while, and actually rereading Confederate General the last few weeks helped to kickstart, and hopefully you'll see that I've stolen a lot of phrases from Brautigan in this, and I think it might answer some of the questions about what bits have actually appealed to me and what bits have left out, so it might provide us an interesting way to start talking later on. I've called it the campaign for mapping generic terms for streams in the contiguous United States. The campaign for mapping generic terms for streams in the contiguous United States begins, as it must, in Big Sur, crossing from the kingdoms of the credulous into the sceptical republic. We are camping out where myths start, under leopard print maxi dresses, warming leftover chocolate cake above Bunsen burners. They are better than the heavy roots and the banknotes on pallets floating by, the remnants of attrition and what we did before. Our slouch hats are fraying, readying for the fray, as we squall out from the 12th state of our confederation, across a continent. The mission for the flower of our chivalry is arduously simple, to casually memorise everything, our inundation of place names, in our effort to see where we fit. We have one motto: stare at the skies so they become your friend. Breveted for gallantry? Ready to take up your commissions? Then the battle of the wilderness is about to begin. The instant we contact, we are turned into statues, all over the map. We lead each other, find our ruins, borrow the light and not worry about repayment. We are alone, or something like it, draining our psychic wealth, because we know it is that, not rain, that will drench us. We chant Ecclesiastes, count the punctuation, read the Russians, because we know there is something new under the sun. We row on ceaselessly until we get stuck in the mud, with squibs in our mouths, fireworks in theirs. We are awed by the quiet eruptions. In letters back and forth, we remind our sweethearts what we are in search of. Bright colour toponyms. Our sugar pumps ask, what are they? And we say, our honeymoon highways, our new languages, our old rhetorics, our runs and our forks, our New Netherland kills, our swamps and sloughs, washed out washes, lime green bayous, rios, arroyos and cañadas. Not Canada's, that's another campaign entirely. Others have conquered before us. And what of our branches and brooks? Don't they get a look? Well, yes, a Dixie glance, as the alligator army climbs out of its stream, ready to board the relevant railroad that follows the rivulet, the same way foxes dress as lions in the hope of putting wolves to flight. Someday this campaign too will end, and we will lament all the sunsets we won't see in these places, even though it sinks the same everywhere. And we shall be left with some autographs, the sentiment that the homesickness is a nostalgia, and the memories of the last good time that this country